Hi, this is Muscle Phil, and this is about the year anniversary for the Judgment Day video. And if some of you are watching this video, you know we didn't use the big beef scale this time, but you will notice some difference in my appearance. And I'll talk about how I did that and what happened in this video, and maybe we'll even get some sponsor support. I'm doing my first cooking video ever. And you might think of me sort of as a male version of Julia Child. And I realized that I had to have part of my food plan today. So I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, why don't I make it up and I can show you a video. But as you can see, I ate it all. It was so good. What I'm doing is I'm sort of field testing the Mayo Clinic diet plan. And I had a conversation with a dietitian named Kay a couple of months ago, and there are a lot of really good medical reasons for me losing weight. Among them, if I can reduce my BMI to a certain point, then I'm a much better candidate for the surgery that should be done on Muscle Phil's wrestler knees. But I got thinking about the tools to set up an abstinent food plan, and so I thought I would talk a little bit today. And I'm going to be addressing this mostly to a demographic called a big galoot. And a big galoot is a large, somewhat athletic, but not really, male who is generally lovable, and kind and gentle, but would rather not be so big. One of my friends like that is a friend of lifetime, Steve Miller. And we were talking about this on the phone, matching food plans. He used to be a 300-pounder, and I never lost to him wrestling because I was a 350-pounder. But in any case, he said, well, the thing that a big person, a fat guy, is most afraid of is getting up from the table hungry. So the paradox then is how to eat enough not to be hungry and yet stay within your calorie requirements so you can in fact lose weight. Well, one of the essential ways that I've done this, and I had a little prep work before I talked to the Mayo Clinic diet people, where as a ice-breaking move, I became a vegetarian. And what this is a small scale which measures portions in grams. And it becomes, you'd think, people say, well, I'm too busy to do this, I'm too busy to do this. All I can do is stop, the only thing I can do is drive as fast as I can to Hardee's. And that's how I almost got picked off by a bus after I got out of class. So one of the things I would say is, if you're a big galoot, slow down and measure. And what that measure means, for example, is I made this dish today, and I sort of did this to spite people, because everybody will tell you, have you eaten your vegetables? Have you done this? Have you done that? And then they ask you if you thought about wearing horizontal stripes or something like that, And these are really annoying questions, so I thought, well, okay, I have these requirements to meet as far as nutrition. Actually, I'm going to drink a little of the stuff that's left in the pot. It's really good, too. And there are groups of things that I'm supposed to eat. And because of my size, I have a metabolic requirement to weigh over 350 pounds, which I'm not anymore, at about 4,000 calories. So if I cut that to 1,800 calories, and I do it right, I don't have to get up from a table hungry. So one of the things I do is I take, if somebody could support this, I wouldn't have to use tin cans for a prop. But these are TJ Farm stir-fry selected vegetables. And if you read the label, it contains 4 servings of vegetables, 31 calories per serving. So you take one of the whole bag of these, you got your 4 vegetable servings, and just to put that in perspective, 131 calories is just a little bit more than half of your average candy bar. And then I would take something like these Surefine mushrooms. This is an 8-ounce can, available from Woodman's cooperative owned by its workers. And I recommend all of their products that I use in my food plan, and I'd certainly like their support. But anyway, if I look at this, a serving is a half cup. So 20 calories per serving. So 20 and 20 makes a full cup, 8 ounces. That 8 ounces, now we've got 200 calories. All right. Well, just vegetables straight, well, I mean, that's pretty awful. But if you take Country Crock margarine here, also available at Woodsman. This is a package of the fluffed up style. And compared to butter, this was the first thing I gave up was butter, because I realized that an ounce of butter is 200 calories. So an ounce of butter is more calories than everything that's in it here. And you can eat that in a bite, or at least I could. So instead, Country Crock has half the calories. So I take a spoon full of Country Crock, maybe 22 grams, which is about as big as a scoop of ice cream because it's fluffed. And when this stuff is really heated up, I stick the spoon into it, add Tabasco sauce, and let it sort of melt in. So now I've got a nutritious 400 calorie meal here. And if my wife comes home, I can say, well, have you eaten your vegetables today? And now another way, I didn't think to bring this, but we have fruit requirements. And apples maybe have 60 or 70 calories apiece. So you can take 3 apples. All right, well, you know, that's a lot of work to eat 3 apples. But if you microwave them, it cuts it to about half the size, add a little Tabasco sauce and lemon pepper. Now you've made your vegetable requirements, and you've made your fruit requirements. And you're really, and as I said before, the olives you might want to eat on the side, but you can have either 20 of these Surefine pitted black olives for 100 calories, or you can have 10 of these huge Tasso's Greek olives stuffed. A serving of those is 2 pretty large olives for 15 calories. So what that means is 10 olives, 80 calories, and I usually have that with my protein. And my protein is generally 70 grams of whatever cheese I pick out. And I should do better on that, actually, because that's a lot of calories. That's like 270 for that amount. But the other thing is you've got to eat your cheese with something. At least I like it with some kind of crackers. Now I have, these are called Sesmark mini rice crackers, garlic and whatever. But if you look at the serving size here on the back of here, I said it was 120 calories, but it's 130 calories. But nevertheless, that means out of a little box like this, you can get 5 or 6 servings. So you take 70 ounces of cheese, maybe 10 of these olives, a serving 40 of these little crackers, and you got your main meal. Now I'm eating 2 of those, and I hope to cut down to 1 pretty soon. But if we follow the numbers doing that, your maintenance ends up, you're eating about a half to a third of your maintenance, and hence you might see the differences in the videos. As in the Judgment Day videos, I could barely get out of our PT Cruiser. Next one I'll make sure that I do that. I was walking with 2 canes at the time. Now I'm walking with 1 cane. Okay, there's another part about this, because this is not simply a diet program. It's a spiritual program too. And I am familiar with the 12-step agenda. Incidentally, I've been sober for 47 years, but I'm also a compulsive overeater. And the paradox of this is that a compulsive person, or a person with an addiction, really cannot defeat it on their own. Willpower is irrelevant. It simply overpowers you. But the paradox is that if you admit that you have no willpower, you do in fact have willpower by picking a higher power. But the trick is, this doesn't have to be Judeo-Christianic, Islamic, or anything like this. It could be as simple as something like a group of people that you work with, that you share stories, like when Steve talks about the terror of the fat guy getting up from the table hungry. That's a deep philosophical concept that would be hard to explain to anything but another really big guy. All right, well, so I will talk more about my research into this, because I recently took a course in the psychology of addiction and realized that there was so much that had transpired in neurological science since they first looked at a rat brain 40 or 45 years ago. Now there's some animal rights issues involved in talking about the experiments that have been done, and maybe we'll do a program about those at some time. But what seems to happen with an addiction is that neural pathways develop which demand and override your other centers of desire. And all I can say is, heuristically, I really wanted this big bowl of vegetables. That's what I wanted. Just as to experiment and reward myself last night, I told my wife, I'll bring me a handful of cashews. Very heavy in calories. And they tasted like cardboard. Well, you know, there wasn't too long ago, I remember in the early iteration of this food plan, I made a really dumb decision. There are these, they're solid milk chocolate eggs. I wish I could remember the brand name, but maybe they wouldn't support me anyway, because I thought, gee, if I just give these away as premiums, wouldn't that be a good idea? Well, I maybe gave half of them away and ate the other half myself. 800 calories per chocolate orange, and I think I might have eaten a couple of them. So what I mean to say is, you think something about this thing that we call abstinence, where we don't engage in our addictive behavior, seems to restore a kind of rationality where you think, well, I'm not going to do that, because I certainly rather give a tape as Muscle Phil than I would looking like the funny guy that's trying to get out of the car. As one of my dear friends, Sue, I won't give her a last name, pointed out to me and gave me the inspiration. Thanks for watching, and we'd love any kind of support you can give us. And we're within the constraints of YouTube, we'd be happy to have sponsorship and support.